Kyle, thank you. So folks, just because, so we have two staff who couldn't be here this evening and a vice chair who couldn't be here, who normally are the ones who set this up. So we had others doing that. So I'm going to take a few minutes and recap what we've said now that we're recording, just so that anybody who comes on and wants to watch this meeting has a recap. And I'd like a nodding of folks to make sure that I got it right, okay? So the members present were Dick Grout, Maureen See, Kevin Ranker, Kyle Davies, Patty Garcia, Dave Anderson, Tom Starr, Janet Brownell, Sharon Abreu, Jane Fuller, David Dellendorf, Bob O'Connell, Paul Dalsett, Liz Lafferty, and Anne-Marie Shanks are the members present this evening. There were a couple of minor adjustments to the minutes. Those have been made and the minutes were adopted. We have now gone into discussion of how we will conclude our business. The discussion is just starting to summarize now, or starting to finalize now, and I will summarize what I have heard, which is what I was about to do. Gosh, if we could be this efficient in our regular meetings and do all of that in that amount of time, that'd be awesome. So where we are with the first main agenda item, which is how we will conclude our business, is that we are considering the a formal letter from the CRC to the county council and to the other electeds regarding the recommendations, a formal letter to the county council and the county auditor regarding our 2022 ballot measures. And our hope would be that tonight we can get volunteers to start working on those two letters. And then they would be drafted over the coming weeks. And then also being drafted would be a final resolution. That resolution would be circulated to the full CRC in advance of our November 10th meeting. And at the November 10th meeting, we would review, I'm going to say we would review the letters and the resolution, and those would be the only agenda items. And then those would be delivered to the county council, and we would present the resolution to the county council. Possibly, it'll depend on their agenda and our deliberations, but maybe on November 16th, and that would conclude our business as a county, as a CRC. Does that make sense to folks? Does that feel like a good direction to be heading?
Yeah.
Good question, Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Are we talking about, for the recommendations, are we talking about an individual letter for each recommendation, or one letter that contains the list of what the recommendations are?
The way I was suggesting it was one letter that would say, these are our recommendations to you and other elected officials that we'd like you to consider.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, if others have other ideas, that's fine. I see, we'll go to Maureen See and then Tom Starr.
Do we have findings on the recommendations? So they should be accompanied, you know, it should just be the written thing that Megan has put together, but it should include findings if we have them on the recommendations. And the other thing is, last time we filed the resolution, you can give a copy to the council, but we filed it with the auditor and it was like stamped in.
Yeah.
Okay, because that kind of goes with the submission there.
Right. And that's why it's important to actually get the actual signatures on it as opposed to digital signatures too, just for the formality of it.
Correct.
And I'm happy to circle around to the different islands too on my boat and help get signatures if that's needed too.
Okay.
Jane, no, I had Tom Starr and then Jane.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to ask the same question that Maureen did, that I think there needs to be some background, either call them findings or background information for the council to, or the department heads that are involved to understand some of our thinking. So thank you, Maureen, for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Somebody help me. I don't recall, Jane, and then Bob, I'll get to you in 1 second. I don't recall. I know that we have a lot of background for each of those recommendations. I don't know if that has been written up by Megan or by the people that prepared each recommendation. So if somebody can tell me if we have that now formally prepared or if we don't. Jane.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yes, each of the recommendations, which I have in front of me right now, have an introductory paragraph that presents and contextualizes each of the recommendations. And so while it is not necessarily as detailed as the findings of all the amendments that are on the website. There's certainly contextual information that indicates where these recommendations are coming from in terms of the work that we did. At the same time, the reason I was suggesting that we may want to actually present these recommendations to the county council one by one verbally is to be able to answer any questions they may have about them. So that was why I thought that could be useful to the county council in terms of understanding the content of the recommendations.
Absolutely. And so we should all take a look at the recommendations again. And if individual commissioners or groups of commissioners feel that some need a further explanation, I would encourage you to work with our staff, but you actually draft findings or additional information to go with them. Jane, to your point, if we presented to the county council on the 16th or sometime around there, we presented our resolution, the recommendations, and the 2022 ballot measures at the same time, I think for our calendar and for the county council's calendar, it is very unlikely we're going to get 3 meetings with the county council. I'm not going to do 3 meetings with the county council.
No.
And so if we aim for 1 and we presented all 3 of our final documents at the same time, we could have a discussion about all 3. I'm seeing nodding. Folks agree with that? Okay. So I'm going to go to Bob and then Dick.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to remind you that we had made a determination some time ago that formal findings would not be required for the recommendations, but they would be required for all of the ballot measures because they were being used to convince the public that this is the basis for what we were doing. So I think we were all kind of, the suggestion was that we should all make sure that our recommendations contained all the explanation that was needed.
And I think with the opening paragraphs, that's what last time I read them, I felt that they were pretty, there was a good description in them of what we were talking about. Let's put it that way. I think we should all look at them and see if we need to add to them. But they have been adopted, so you can't change the actual recommendation without another vote, but you can change kind of introductions if you'd like to make that suggestion. But Bob, I remember that as well. Dick.
I don't know if I misunderstood what you said a few minutes ago, but are we talking about submitting the resolution, all the documents to the council in advance prior to meeting with them for any discussion?
Definitely.
I think,
okay.
Well, hang on. We would present the letters. We would not present the resolution because the resolution concludes our work. We will present that when we are sure we are concluding our work, which I think would be that county council meeting. And the resolution simply covers the other information. But I think it is very important that we give them the recommendations and the 2022 ballot measures in advance of their meeting so that they have ample time and the public has ample time to review them and comment on them. And then the council will be prepared and better educated for a conversation with us.
Okay, and I would say a minimum of a week prior to meeting with them.
Well, if we, it'll be just shy of a week. If we finalize everything the 10th and we meet with them on the 16th, if we deliver, walking out of our meeting on the 10th, my pipe dream would be this, that we walk out of the meeting on the 10th and by 7 p.m. on the 10th, they've been delivered to the county council. And then they would have all day Thursday through Tuesday before their meeting to review those. And that's if they have time on their on the 16th calendar. They may not.
Yeah, that's right.
Does Bob, please?
I've got, I'm sorry, I don't need to be talking this much, but the meeting that comes up on the 10th, I believe that it is important at that time for us to have on the docket for that meeting consideration of the results of the election. For this reason, I think it is possible if one of our proposals failed. Let's take, although I don't think it's going to fail, let's take initiatives, for instance. If initiatives failed, we could attempt to learn from the public what it was that made them vote against it and improve this, give the public what it actually wants in that regard, if it's different from what we have initially presented them, and write such a proposal for the 2022 ballot, so that we don't let it just go away, so that we learn from that if that happens and take advantage of it.
I would be finalizing the agenda a few days out from the meeting so that we can publicize, so that we can officially publish it. And so if you or others have new items between the 2nd and the 10th, you would need to get those to me by the 3rd or the 5th, I think it's the 5th, so that we can finalize the agenda and publicize it. And whether it's about the election or some other issue, you know, as we've said all along, and many of you have taken advantage of, when you have different ideas, shoot them to me and we put them on the agenda. Frankly, like this evening's entire meeting, which I didn't know about until I was told later. It's all good, Bob. Everything you're saying, just, you know, you would just let me know on the 3rd or the 5th that you had another agenda item you wanted discussed. Tom, I see your hand.
Well, you've been there, Kevin, and I've been there on the county council, and I think that this timing that we're talking about, we should clear with Jamie. Just give him some kind of a heads up to know
Yes.
whether we're in the ballpark here.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Starr. So I actually just made a note to myself that I'm going to email, Catherine isn't here. Normally she would email their staff, but I will email over to them this evening or tomorrow and just say basically what we've just said, that we're considering concluding our business, having our last meeting on the 10th and then meeting with you on the 16th. Would that be possible? So that they've already set their agenda through the end of the year.
Right.
Doesn't mean they can't put time in for us, but you're absolutely right, Tom. We have to give them a heads up. And so I will take the responsibility to do that. I saw.
Thank you.
Dave, you're welcome. Dave and then Maureen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I have a question about, this isn't about the formal recommendations that we're going to be presenting to the council, but more about, maybe call them soft recommendations. We are all elected people, and we are, at the beginning of this process, we all filed ballot statements with kind of projecting what we see this commission doing. At the end of this process, I think it might be benefit to the public and also the next commission for us to make some statements about how we experienced it and what could have done better. We're near perfect in how we've performed this commission, but I know that like as the minority report, it's going to be attached to our public record when the business is finished. I think, is there going to be an opportunity for people just to make a comment or write a couple paragraphs about how we performed or what kind of improvements can be done for the next commission?
Well, I think that's happening in each of our meetings. Are you talking about us or the public? Who?
Us.
So to add to the findings and such, I would say, Dave, if you're so inclined, if you have ideas or different things that you think would help the process, you should submit those, and we can, you know, if we wanted to, we could formally vote on them to be included in the findings if the rest of the commission agreed. If not, you could just submit something and have it, you know, be attached to the record somehow saying Commissioner Anderson felt XYZ. I think each of us probably have ideas like that, and if we have the time, that might be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin, this is Commissioner Lafferty, and I apologize. I can't raise my hand while I'm driving.
That's okay. Go ahead, please.
So I was just confused by the last comment you made about reaching out to the council, letting them know that we're looking at concluding our business on the 10th and requesting to present to them on the 16th. I thought, just with the conversation with Commissioner O'Connell, that we were going to continue our work. So that language of concluding our business on November 10th, I didn't understand that.
What was suggested was that November 10th would be our last formal CRC meeting, and then we would conclude our work on November 16th with a presentation of our final resolution to the county council. And that is dependent upon the deliberations between now and then. While we are still in office, if somebody, and I think I'll run for the hills, but if somebody has an entirely new amendment they want to propose, they could for the 2022 ballot. If there are issues that come up and you said, you know, so I as chair, do not have the prerogative to just shut us down. I'm just trying to help coordinate the meetings, right? And so I think what we're discussing is that November 10th would be our last formal meeting. And then November 16th will be where we conclude our work formally before the county council and the auditor. Yeah, go ahead.
And then what Bob was saying about if some of the initiatives don't pass and we want to learn from that and put forward a modified version that better reflects what the community wants, that all occurs in formal meetings. So I guess the language of concluding our formal work on November 10th doesn't register with what I'm hearing what we're attempting to do.
That, yeah. So as I'm saying, I don't want to talk about the election as much, but my feeling is this, that between now and November 10th, if there are other issues that arise, any commissioner can shoot me an email and we'll put it on the agenda. And so
Okay.
If that happened to be during that time period, that's fine. There's other issues that have come up as well that, you know, that may raise to be more of a priority too. And so what I'm trying to lay out is a strategy for us moving forward. That
I totally understand that, Kevin. And I think the reason it's worth kind of harboring this point has to do with the particular times that we're living in and the particular critical nature of all of the issues and things changing so rapidly and wanting to get it right to best reflect our community. So I think that second shot is critical for those reasons.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so I hear from Anne-Marie. She's at Shaw, almost back to Orpheus, and we'll probably lose reception for a little bit. And so Anne-Marie, if you can still hear me, if you're coming straight home, maybe what we can do is we can go to public comment just a few minutes early and have public comment and then go back into the next subject. Or Dick, I see your hand.
Yeah, am I muted?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, this is a special meeting and we don't have public comment on the agenda, and typically we don't in special meetings.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Again, I don't have the agenda in front of me. I'm trying to go from my memory from when I looked at it this morning because my iPad is not pulling it up for some reason. So if public comment isn't advertised, I mean, what do folks think? If it's
Absolutely.
not, move forward.
Yes, move forward.
This is indeed a special meeting. It says it at the top of the agenda.
Yeah, I thought it did say public comment at 4:50, no?
No, it does not.
No, it does not.
Oh,
Nope.
And most county bodies in special meetings do not do public comment, so we're not out of line on that.
Could we still do it if we wanted to?
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
No, stop.
Can't.
I'll vote no.
Hey, guys, I hear what you're saying. So we're going to move forward. And so we're going to go right into the next subject. And the next subject was the discussion of waiving the right of privilege on attorney-client privilege information. So would anybody like to comment on that? Okay, go ahead.
Did you call on me?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you broke up a little, sorry. I feel very strongly about this, which may become apparent. I think we absolutely should not do it. We spent, I think it was over an hour with the deputy prosecutor back in March, went all through this. She made clear that the county does not advise waiving attorney-client privilege. They think it sets a bad precedent. We all, or heavy majority, agreed at that time we did not want to do it. And I think, as memory serves, this came up again later. Somebody raised the idea of doing it, and I don't think we even went to a vote. There was just a chorus of, no, we have already decided this. And that's exactly how I feel about this now. We've decided it. And I think, as a matter of principle, we should not be doing it. I mean, if I'm going to serve on another county body, or if anybody else is doing that, and we're having conversations or written dialogues with our attorney that we believe are confidential, I don't want a majority of the group deciding, no, we're going to make all that public. I think attorney-client privilege means attorney-client privilege, and we need to maintain it. That's my feeling.
Thank you, Dick. Bob, and then Tom.
Okay. I agree very much with Dick on this, although it is not without some torturous contemplation, because I have a hard time not ceding to the request for openness and all of that. But I will say this: we had all of those meetings, every one of them is recorded, and every one of them is accessible to the public. In any time that that we were advised by the attorney to do X or Y, that ended up the subject matter, at least to some degree, ended up being discussed, and people can go to these recordings and listen to where we came, how we came down in our deliberations, what were the factors that we considered, etc. Every one of them. And so that's really, really, really open. In this one area, if we waived attorney-client privilege, we're just about killing that privilege for succeeding commissions like ourselves, because there will be precedent for having waived that. And I don't think that's something that we ought to do. In order for the attorney to feel confident that he can give us advice without the entire world hearing it, whatever the factors might be going into that advice, he has to know that I think that we're not going to be waiving attorney-client privilege. Even if this attorney had said, well, I don't mind, the next one might mind. So I think it's a very bad idea. It's there for a reason, and I think we need to maintain it as sacred. The end.
Did you acknowledge me?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Last week I read my little intro, which I would like to do again, and I'm under the understanding that the motion is on the floor, but if not, I'm going to repeat it. Some of my constituents have asked to know more about the advice we have received from our legal counsel, Mr. Gaylord. They feel that this info will help them to better determine how to vote on the CRC propositions, which are up for vote in the coming election. In my experience, there are a very limited number of discussion issues which an elected body can keep from the public, namely real estate negotiations, personnel matters, and legal litigation situations. It seems to me that as we are doing the people's business, it is critical that our activities and information be open and transparent. I also note from Commissioner Breu's email that she has been asked by a news reporter for info from our legal counsel as well. As a result, I am asking the CRC to revisit the decision to keep private certain letters from Mr. Gaylord. We are reminded by his comments that the release to the public of an attorney's advice to his client is up to his client, us. Accordingly, I move that all the written correspondence concerning our work from Mr. Gaylord and his office be made public. So that's my motion for today.
It's been seconded, Tom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Paul.
I would also like to just add one thing that
Tom,
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to clarify. So motion by Tom, second by Paul. Is that correct?
No, it actually was seconded by Bill Apple last on the 6th.
But as we are in a new meeting, I think it's appropriate for us to put the motion on the floor again.
Then I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So seconded by Paul. The other thing I just want to clarify, and I'm actually going to look to Tony to help make sure, because I do not have my little red book of Robert's rules in front of me either. But I believe this would technically be a rescinding of a previous motion. However, as I read into the rules at the last meeting, if you advertise a rescinding of a motion, it is a simple majority to do so. And I would consider, because this was discussed and it was I had left the meeting already, so I really need you guys to tell me and agree with this. But because this was discussed last week and the agenda item was put forward as a discussion of this issue, I would consider that advertising of the issue or appropriate notification of the issue under Robert's rules as well. So it would only be a simple majority. I would like folks, again, I have not, I'm sorry I got too busy and did not read the rules again today, but I believe that would be an accurate interpretation of the rules and where we are. Tony, you're good on Robert's rules. Would that be your understanding as well?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. So technically, Tom, you have put forward a motion to rescind the previous decision by the commission. And because there was proper notification, whereas it would require a supermajority, it will only require a simple majority for your motion to pass. And the motion was seconded by Paul. Now we are back into discussion under the motion. Bob.
I'd like to point out that the items that, and I think somebody else had pointed this out earlier, the items that Tom has mentioned, real estate matters, personnel matters, litigation matters, there's some confusion there. Those aren't items that have to do with the privilege and waiving the privilege and all of that. Those are items that have to do with whether or not a board, which is having an otherwise public meeting, ought to and can go into executive session and exclude people who are not on the board from hearing and understanding what they're talking about, and also from any recording being made of that executive session. Completely different things. There's nothing in the law regarding this privilege that has anything to do with the things that Tom mentioned, real estate, personnel, litigation, etc.
Thank you. And Tom, I'm sorry, I think you had something else, another comment you were wanting to make.
Well, just for everybody's memory, I had Catherine help me look up our prior action. And if, with your indulgence, I would read the motion and the results.
Please.
This was on March 31st, and these are the minutes of our meeting. It was moved by Bill Apple, seconded by Paul Dossett, to waive attorney-client privilege on 2 documents. And Maurice Shanks offered a friendly amendment to waive privilege on 3 documents. Amendment was accepted. Discussion followed. 9 ayes, 7 opposed, and 1 abstained. So it wasn't an overwhelming vote. It was a close vote.
Majority.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Janet.
Actually, I'm going to defer to Tony, who had his hand up first, but then I'll go after Tony.
Okay, I didn't see you, Tony. Sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am sorry that I'm late to the meeting. I had a previous engagement that I forgot about. You know, with all due respect to the attorneys in the room, we are not in a litigation situation where we're actually trying to keep things secret. We are doing the public's work. And if the information that Mr. Gaylord's office is presenting to this body is helpful for the public to make decisions, I think it's only appropriate that we should do that. It doesn't make sense to me that we are trying to claim, quote unquote, attorney-client privilege. Where is the harm of presenting some information to the public? Is it secret? If so, I'd like to have people in this room, Bob and others, to tell me what is so private that it cannot be presented to the public as a means to help the public vote one way or the other on the motions coming up on the ballot, or excuse me, the propositions coming up on the ballot. I think it puts a sad reflection on our body if we're trying to keep things secret by saying that we are claiming attorney-client privilege. I don't see that applicable in this case. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have Janet, Dick, Jane.
So first of all, the relationship of privilege does exist, no matter what. And I think the reason it exists is so that we can have a frank conversation with our prosecutor and the prosecutor can have a frank conversation with us. Based on that, we put this into a calculus and we form an opinion. And we have formed an opinion in terms of how we are presenting these amendments. That privilege still exists. I mean, I understand transparency. I would love to ask the prosecutor to release every single email he has with the county manager and the county council over CRC issues. I'm pretty sure he would say no. I'm pretty sure that the county would say no. I'm pretty sure the county manager would say no, because that relationship exists. And the reason you have that relationship is so that you can have these frank conversations. No one is hiding anything. We have made our decision from the fruit of whatever Randy sent to us. We have made our decisions. And I can't look backwards. I can only look forwards. So it's where we are now. I honor the privilege that we have with the county prosecutor. And I guarantee you, if we went to Randy and said, hey, you know what, we'd like you to release all these other things, he would say no, as is his right, as is the right of the county council and the county manager. So I think in order to sustain the privilege that every single county body has with the county prosecutor, I am with Dick. There's no way I'm going to vote to release all these memos. Thanks. Peace out.
Dick and then Jane.
Yeah, I have to say, Tony, I disagree with virtually everything you said. And I would wager that Tom's constituents have not asked the county council or the county manager to waive their attorney-client privilege on any discussions or written communications the prosecutor had with them on CRC issues. And we know that those did occur. And I want to completely endorse what Janet said. And the Supreme Court has said attorney-client privilege is essential to the functioning of our legal system. And I think we need to maintain it. It's that simple.
Jane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, as a point of clarification regarding the vote that that Commissioner Starr just spoke to in terms of releasing certain information from the prosecuting attorney, what Tom Starr didn't refer to is the fact that we actually took a vote, if I'm not mistaken, in a executive session. So there were discussions that took place on the 24th of March and the 31st of March on this very topic that we don't have an official record of.
No,
and
Jane,
so, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I have to correct you. No action was taken during executive session.
Right, because it cannot be. Okay, but what Tom Starr was just referring to is 3 items. He spoke to 3 items. He did not talk about a vote that was taken on all of the prosecuting attorney's legal memos. So it's somewhat misleading to suggest that the decision to release 3 pieces of information from the prosecuting attorney resulted in a decision to release all of the PA's memos. So I just think that that's an important point of clarification. The second thing I wanted to say was that I am completely in agreement with what Janet just discussed. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I'm going to pause this conversation for 1 second. I guess on the county's website, Sharon, was it you that caught this? On the county's website, the agenda does say public comment?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and in that case, I'm going to pause this conversation. I'm going to go to public comment because it's been advertised. And I apologize, but I have to mute because my puppy is freaking out. So if anybody would like to speak to the CRC, please turn on your video if you're able. And unmute yourself and we will listen to your comments. And thank you for being here this evening. Anybody from the public care to comment? Gordy, I see you there. Please go ahead.
All I would say is what are you trying to hide here? Randy's memos tell a story, the story of how these amendments went from big, bold propositions to the weak propositions that are on the ballot. People want to understand how that happened. And the only way to do that is through getting these memos. I mean, it's just advice from your attorney to, and it should be public. I don't understand what you're hiding, and I don't know why you want to hide it from the public. I just posted up on the chat the recommendation that you people made not long ago about openness and transparency. And I guess if you don't want to go by it, you talk big, but you don't do it. I think it's so hypocritical that I hope you make the decision to just be transparent. Thanks.
Thank you, Gordy. Any other members of the public care to comment this evening? Any other members of the public? Okay, with that, I will close public comment and I will go back to the deliberations on the motion at hand. And I see Maureen See's hand up. Go ahead, Maureen.
The last couple of weeks, maybe the last 10 days, I have been soul searching myself over the accountability and transparency issue. And that matters a lot to me. And I know it matters to many of you. Transparency in our work is critical. However, I was one of the people that felt that this should be open to everyone. This material should go out. But I have to say, Gordy, I'm surprised at you because I don't think any of it got out in the last CRC. I think it was kept closed because Randy insisted we do so. I am going to vote against this because of the hateful language that is circulating now about the CRC. It's one thing to disagree with the notions that we've come up with the work that we have done. Friendly disagreement, and I would say that our minority group here have been extremely civil in presenting that. But others are not outside of this group, and it has become very politically angry and hateful. And I just will not tolerate that. So I'm voting against this.
Bob and Tom, you've both already spoken. Let me just make sure if there's anybody who hasn't spoken on this topic, if you'd like to make a comment. Okay, with that, Bob, I saw your hand first, and then Tom, maybe you'll be the.
I just think it's interesting that Gordy Peterson just told us.
Let me just say that in the same way we have asked members of the public not to impugn us, I just want to make sure that we don't impugn any members of the public.
Oh, no.
Let's also maybe take personal names and out of it and just say, we've heard a comment. We don't have to single out individual people.
Good idea.
Thank you.
I think that we have just heard a comment from somebody who is telling us that he knows that the opinions of the prosecuting attorney led us down a certain way, and that they pushed things down, or words to that effect. And I'm wondering how he knows that. How does he know what were in those opinions if they've not been accessible to the public? And to the extent that he knows it, maybe everybody else knows what's in them. I don't know. But if that's the case, someone has been violating the privilege. Anyway, I'm with the people who have expressed their opinions in the panel so far. It does hurt me to vote against what other people are calling transparency, but there's no way we can let this privilege go down the tubes. No way.
Okay, Tom, you were next.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to Jane's comments a little bit. She was citing as an example the county manager releasing all his discussions with the attorney. I think we're different. We're doing governance. We're doing much broader principled subjects which deserve to be more transparent, and I don't think hurt anybody when they become so.
Okay. But
I know.
let's try and not just have a circular dialogue. Janet, you had your hand up first. You're muted, Janet.
You're muted.
I can't believe I actually did that. I'm going to call for the vote because I think it is just going to get circular, and I'm afraid this whole conversation may degrade into a way that I think we should just vote and rip the bandage off and go one way or the other on this.
So,
Second,
okay, we have a motion and a second to call the question. Do a majority of the members call the question? This is not on the vote. This is to call the question. I think I see it. Okay, so the question has been called. Okay, so the motion before us is to waive attorney-client privilege on memos from the prosecuting attorney. All those in favor of waiving that privilege, and I'm going to check also, give me a second. I vote no. Okay. Okay. So all those in favor, please hold up your hand. And if you can't hold up your hand, I will call on you. So I see Tom.
Paul has his hand raised.
Paul does. Okay, thank you. Paul, Tom. Any other no votes?
Yes votes, you mean?
I mean, yes votes. Yes votes. Yes votes. Liz, we can't see you. So are you, you're not voting yes? Okay. So
Correct.
is that only, so we have 2 yes votes. Okay. All those opposed, raise your hand. And I don't, can you guys see this? Anne Marie says I vote no. She just texted it. Can folks see that for the record?
yes.
A gesture.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to write these down. Anne Marie, Kyle, Dave, Sharon, Maureen, Janet, Jane, Dick, Bob, Patty, David. Commissioner Lafferty, how do you vote?
No.
Liz. Okay, any abstentions?
Yes,
Tony, that was you abstaining?
yes.
Okay, the chair also abstains. Okay, I just got a text. Let me make sure it's not from Anne Marie. No, it is not. Okay. Okay, so I have 2 votes in favor. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 votes opposed and 2 abstentions. So the motion does not carry. Okay. And Sharon, did you get the names as I was reading them off did you get the vote count for the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. 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 So the motion does not carry. So that item is done. Again, I apologize. I don't even have my agenda in front of me. Was there anything else on the agenda?
No.
Kevin,
So the next meeting will be November 10th. At that meeting, we will attempt to conclude our business as far as a final meeting and then present our final findings to the county council as soon as possible thereafter, maybe on the 16th. I would like to ask for volunteers to work on the letters. There's 2 letters, so we need a lead who can reach out and get support. It shouldn't just be one person, but we need a letter for the recommendations, and we need a letter for the 2022 ballot measures that will present them to the county council and the auditors, and in the case of the recommendations, the other elected officials. Do we have some people who be willing to take that on?
I can help.
Kyle and Maureen will take a lead on that and reach out to others for support. Okay, thank you both for taking that on. San Juan Island will dominate the final meeting. Okay, any other final comments? Okay, go ahead, Bob.
I just, about the last vote that we took, I just wanted to make this comment. There is precedent for what we have just done. over 200 years ago, a bunch of people got together in Philadelphia and they wrote the Constitution, as we are doing now. They wrote the Constitution for the United States of America. No one out in the public, outside that sweaty room there in Philadelphia, had any idea what these people were doing from one day to the next. And it wasn't until they left, having finally concluded their work, that it went out to the public. And Franklin had his famous comment regarding that. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So,
Mr. Chair,
who is that? Sorry.
Tony.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bob, they were being accused of treason at the time. I think if they made it public, it would have been they would have been shot or hung. So I don't think that's a really wrong example.
Not true, Tony. This was in 1789, long after the war was
Mr.
over.
Chair, can we make a motion to adjourn, please, and they can continue this debate offline?
100% agree.
I'm gonna move we adjourn. Actually, I can't. Somebody else needs to.
I move we adjourn.
I just did, yes.
I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.